are the product of mathematical research into fundamental questions of consistency and completeness in number theory. And specifically, they state that all natural numbers are closed under an injective and non-zero successor function, yeah, and a reflexive symmetric transitive equality function. Sorry. In other words.
It was interesting.
Yeah, thank you. This is what it's saying in real English. Think of a number, 41. Add 1 to it, and what do you get?
The answer to the universe.
Yeah,
That's right. The square root.
42! Brilliant. So you're good at mathematics. You can apply Peano's axioms, because that's all they say. You get another number. And you can keep going. 41 plus 1 is 42, and if you add 1 again, you don't get 42, you get...
43.
Is it? And you can keep going and going and going, and this add 1 is all you need. You can count to all the numbers in the universe and beyond. And what's the lesson from this? When you're good at adding 1, numbers become really easy. Great. When you're bad at adding 1, numbers are very hard. So, how does this relate to polyglottery? Well, it actually does. I'm going to take my sandals off because they're slipping around a bit. So, if you can smell anything bad, it's Richard, it's not me. I'm using piano axioms to understand the easiest way to be able to speak 10 foreign languages. I see on the forums, people always want to know what's the easiest way, what's the quickest way, what's the best method. I'm going to tell you now, with my strong mathematical background, I have a PhD in theoretical computer science. I'm really good at this kind of stuff, and I'm going to tell you how using that to be good at speaking 10 foreign languages. Are you ready? Yep. Step 1. It's really easy. It's a 2-step plan. Who can ask for more? So, which is the hardest of those 2 steps? I think it's probably step 1 is the hardest, yeah? But once you've done that, it's much easier to add 1 more. Okay, and how do you do that? Let's take the way to be able to speak 9 languages, because that was the hard bit, is speak 8 and add 1. And you can keep going. And the hardest step is always step 1. And then adding 1 is easy. Until you get here. And now step 2 is the hard one. Yeah? And this is important. Because for mega polyglots, adding 1 is really easy. But for people like me, polynots, adding 1 is really hard. And my speech is going to be about why. Yeah, this is the big question. Literally, it's a big question. So, I don't know the answer. I don't know anything about languages, so I decided to do some research. And I looked into applied linguistics. And I found out that applied linguistics is the branch of linguistics that's actually useful to people who aren't linguists. So, the other advantage of this is anything I say here might be nonsense. But all I have to do is, like English newspapers, when they're about to say, that guy's a lying idiot, they just put the word allegedly at the beginning because they can get away with it. So, allegedly, this is how to be good at adding 1. So, applied linguistics isn't about theories. It's not some people just thinking up something that sounds good. Instead, they do experiments in real life, find results, and publish the results. It's based on lots of evidence over decades. I've read mountains mountains of papers and one great book. This great book is big and it's fat and it's boring as hell. But it's really good if you don't mind being bored. But it teaches a lot. It actually surveys in great detail 600 research studies, and it finds, if you wade through all that the main difference between polyglots and polynots, like me, so people like him and people like me, is polyglots are good at
Yes.
Who got that then? I bet Richard did.
Yes, right.
Okay. And it turns out the reason they're good at guessing, now, don't say nonsense yet, just bear with me, is because they have better memories. Now you'll say, no, my memory is no better than anybody else's. And it might be true, because polyglots do not have better long-term memory than mere mortals. But they do have better short-term memories. But there's some geeky words here, for linguists only, so I hope you can't read them. It's qualifying it in case there are any linguists here. Short-term memories is good enough. Polyglots can remember things for a few seconds. And polynots forget them immediately. Did I say this yet? It's in one ear and out the other, literally. So why is short-term memory important? Why does it matter? You know, we learn all these things about how to remember words years down the line, but why is it important to remember something for 5 seconds or 10 seconds? Well, it turns out that short-term memory is essential to, it supports 3 very important language skills. And those are noticing things, processing things, and guessing things. I'm going to get into these in great detail. So, without those 3 skills, you can't use the methods that polyglots use. And polynots struggle with language learning because they lack the 3 skills of, what were they? Noticing, processing, and guessing. And that's great news for polyglots and bad news for polynots. Therefore, the road from polynottery to polyglottery is a process of developing a better short-term memory. And then you can train in the skills of noticing, processing, and guessing, and from that you can apply the methods that polyglots use. If you try to apply them without having those skills, you're going to burn up. Okay, now interestingly, this process is iterative and bidirectional. Whatever that means. What it actually means is the more you improve your memory, the better your skills in processing and so on and guessing become, and then you can start to use the methods. But once you're using the methods, they actually build the skills, which builds the memory. So it sort of snowballs. And it turns out you actually only need a few weeks of training to build these skills, and then you can be pretty independent. So let's relate this to language to learning vocabulary. Now, one reason that it's about vocabulary is because the big fat book I read is about vocabulary. If that book was about something else, the speech would be about something else. But it's because loads and loads and loads of real research from applied linguistics and from theorists has shown that in order to comprehend spoken stuff and written stuff, vocabulary is actually far more important than subject knowledge, knowledge about subject matter, and far more important than grammatical knowledge. Now, how many words do you need? I guess you people know all these kind of numbers that talk about things like native speakers have 20,000 word vocabulary. Well, that's a big number. It actually turns out that people learn around 1,000 words a year, pretty consistently up until around university age. So when a child goes to school for the first time, they'll know 5,000 words, mostly learned orally from their parents, and add 1,000 words a year. I haven't got 20 years to learn some foreign language. Jesus Christ, I'm an old man, I'll be dead by then. But you need a very high vocabulary in order to have pleasant, free reading, for it not to be a frazzling experience, for it to be a pleasurable experience. If you have 95% coverage of the vocabulary in a newspaper like The Guardian or something, you can understand it. Not easy. If it's 90% understanding of the vocabulary in The Guardian, you really know you're studying. 85% it's for Richard Simcott and Luca only. And even those guys are defeated when it's 80%. Ooh, that's pretty spooky. So, what's the Polynot approach to vocabulary? Well, I didn't have to look very far to know that. Yikes! 20,000 words! That's a lot of flashcards. Now, Polynots tend to believe in the existence that there's one magic strategy that's going to be the best one. You see them asking this on forums. Actually, interestingly, people have spoken to Polynots and found that they don't really believe it, but they keep themselves into believing it. They feel guilty they're not using a wider range of strategies, but they're more comforted by believing they're using the best one. So they seek confirmation from people like Richard to say, yeah, that's a really good one, then they feel they're not doing what the masters do. And they tend to stick with it then, despite all the evidence. You know that definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again despite all the evidence and expecting a different result. That's what we do, us Polynots. So they spend a mass amount of time on learning single, unrelated words, and you end up with things like Anki addiction. I've seen on Anki forums guys saying, I spent 2 hours putting new words into Anki today and 15 minutes reviewing them. They're just addicted. And they do these lengthy cramming sessions when they want to be heroic. Ooh, I'll get as much energy as I can and do a cramming session tonight. And they want to pin down the one true meaning of a word and get that one simple definition on their flashcard. They see dictionaries as authoritative, so that if they think they know what a word means, but they see a different definition for the word in the dictionary, they'll abandon their own understanding of the word as completely wrong. Oh no, I'm an idiot. I got it wrong. It means something else because the dictionary told me so. And they beat themselves up when they forget a word. As you can imagine, I'm beating myself up a lot. The idea then is that you either know a word or you don't. It's black or white. And you stop reviewing a word once you know it. Oh, I know that word. Now time for me to move on to another one. And where do they decide what words they're going to work on? Those that are given to them in homework or in the textbook are the most important by far, even when they know they're not interesting. Things that are in thematic groups. I remember when I was studying French, and we were given a list of all the different words for different fishes. And it had their English translations, and I'd never heard of half of the English names for the fishes, but we're still learning the French ones. What? Oh, this is interesting. Ones that sound nice. Pampalishka. Who knows what pampalishka means? It's a nice sounding word. Now, you should go and look up what it means. Vulgar or unusual words. Let's get the slang book. I can learn the swear words. Won't that be good? And none of this is about whether the words are useful. So, they shun output quite a lot as too painful. Oh no, that's going to remind me of what I don't know. I'm going to look like an idiot. I'm not going to do any output. One day, I'll know 20,000 words, and then I'll be fluent. It'll be easy. I won't need to go through all that output. It'll just be easy all of a sudden. So, like one of my friends, you can say octopus, you can say hovercraft, but you can't say, can you help me please? If only they'd learned the word for helicopter, that would have been it. So, the The polyglot approach to vocabulary, according to that book, is very different. Vocabulary learning is not an end goal. Polyglots. It's not about, I've got 20,000 words in Anki. No, it's about effective control over vocabulary for confident and fluent use. In listening, speaking, reading and writing, not just for getting high scores on Anki. So, knowing a word is not an all or nothing affair. Words sink in over time. You get repeated viewings, like on an Anki card, but you also get a broader, more diverse viewing of a word from different contexts to teach you the wide meanings and the broad meanings of words. In particular, polyglots see knowing a word as multidimensional. Form, meaning and use, which means the spelling of the word, the parts the word is made up of, the different variations of the word, and the pronunciation of the word, what the tone is, where the emphasis is, all these kind of things. And the meaning. Maybe there's a central concept to the word, but there can be very diverse meanings as well. You have to learn all of these. You don't reject all of them apart from the one true one. And words have lots of associations. We saw this in one of the speeches yesterday. If you use the wrong word in the wrong context, it'll cause all sorts of strange associations to people that were unexpected to you. And use. So, is this a high-frequency word? And in what context is it high-frequency? How's it hanging isn't very high-frequency in written form, for example. How formal is it? Hey man, give me 5 isn't very good at a job interview. Oh, medium, yes. Is it spoken form or written form? And collocations. I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly. I've always said it collocations. Is a thing that polynots tend to ignore, but polyglots, even without realizing it, we'll see, place a lot of emphasis on these. So polyglots cover all those by balancing 4 strands of study. Intensive vocabulary study. This is the stuff that polynots, like me, over-focus on. Extensive listening and reading, speaking and writing, and fluency development. I'll come to these in detail. Strand 1, intensive vocabulary study. Choose words based on frequency. Frequency really means usefulness. You need 20,000 words to get 98% coverage. Ha! No! I've got to learn all of them. No, because even just knowing 10 words, you can get 24% coverage. So learn those 10 words first. It's been shown in research that if you should study quite intensively the first highest frequency, 2,000 to 4,000 words. That's worth putting time in. That's worth sticking into Anki. In fact, it's very interesting. Polyglots, perhaps from their vast experience, have a general sense for what's high frequency, for what's worth knowing. Polynots don't. They see every word as equally worth knowing, so they just take other people's lists. So they should probably use frequency dictionaries. There are some brilliant ones with the most 4,000 most important words in Spanish or French or German. Just go with those. Make that your order rather than randomness. But then, rather than learning the next 2,000 high-frequency general words, it's far more useful to you to focus on the 2,000 most frequent words in your specialist field of personal interest. So, for example, there's something called the academic word list, which has got about 350 words. If you learn those, there are books on this actually, things like French for reading or German for reading, and they train you to be very good with the academic vocabulary for reading scientific papers. You'll learn a few hundred words that'll be really useful in that field. Conversational vocab. This is what, I don't know if anybody knows what my conversational connectors are. This is focusing on stuff that you say a lot in conversations, but you never see in written form.